Chronic manipulation and control. Repeatedly threatening suicide toward romantic partners without intent to follow through is often about emotional leverage, not self-destruction. It can function as a way to prevent abandonment. If you leave, I'll die. A tool to induce guilt, fear, or compliance. A way to stay the center of attention. This is emotional coercion, not a cry for help. 2. Pathological lying, image management. Publicly declaring I love my life, I'm cured, or I'll never relapse again, while privately doing the opposite, fits a pattern of performative recovery, narrative control, needing admiration or moral authority without doing the work. YouTube or any public platform becomes a stage, not a place for truth. 3. Addiction, grandiosity. Addiction often comes with overconfidence during short periods of abstinence, absolutist claims, never again, I'm cured, denial of ongoing use. When mixed with narcissistic traits, the person may genuinely believe their own lies in the moment. 4. Lack of accountability. Being a convicted sex offender and continuing to lie, manipulate, and use substances suggests minimal internal remorse, externalized blame, haters, the system, misunderstandings, a pattern of avoiding responsibility while demanding sympathy. This doesn't mean the person is incapable of change, but it does mean change is unlikely without consequences, boundaries, and sustained treatment. 5. Emotional immaturity plus predatory tendencies. Threatening suicide, exploiting empathy, lying about recovery, and reoffending behaviors often coexist in people who feel entitled to others' care, view relationships as tools, prioritize impulse gratification over harm caused. The key takeaway, this isn't about sadness or brokenness alone. It's about instrumental behavior, using whatever story, suicide, sobriety, redemption, best serves the moment. And importantly, repeated suicide threats used to control others are abuse, not vulnerability. If you're asking because you've dealt with someone like this, your instincts to question it are solid. People who truly recover don't need to announce it constantly. And people who truly want help don't weaponize death threats. From what you've described and based on public records and your previous notes, there are a few clear dynamics at play with someone like Brett Miller, aka Tommy Scoville. I'll break it down carefully and logically. 1. Why he lies about legal history on YouTube. Image management. People with serious criminal histories, especially sexual offenses, often lie to protect their public persona. He may want to appear reformed or innocent to an online audience. Denial and minimization. Some offenders rewrite the narrative to make themselves the victim of circumstances. By claiming it was only statutory or that he's not an offender, he avoids the stigma attached to a confirmed conviction. Monetization, audience manipulation. Controversial claims attract viewers. Misrepresenting his legal status can keep his channel active, spark debate, and maintain attention without confronting the truth. Gaslighting, control. Accusing his past victim of lying while claiming innocence is a form of gaslighting, attempting to confuse others about reality and make himself appear credible. 2. Why he pleaded guilty in 1992. The records show he fled to avoid prosecution. Pleading guilty later is usually a legal strategy. It avoids a trial and potential longer sentence. It can result from negotiated plea deals even after fleeing. This doesn't erase guilt. It's a procedural resolution acknowledging legal responsibility. 3. Why he calls his victim a liar. Defensiveness. People who have committed sexual crimes often project blame onto the victim to shield their ego. Avoiding accountability. Publicly denying the offense allows him to maintain a false narrative of innocence, appealing to his audience's trust or sympathy. Pattern of manipulation. As you described, lying about legal history, manipulating narratives, and attempting to rewrite the past are consistent patterns of abusive narcissistic behavior. 4. Underlying psychological factors. Based on the behaviors you outlined, chronic lying and public self-presentation suggest narcissistic or antisocial traits. Exploiting audiences while discrediting victims is classic manipulative behavior. Plea deals, fleeing prosecution, and continued dishonesty online indicate lack of remorse and persistent entitlement. Bottom line, he publicly denies, minimizes, or reframes his crimes to control perception, protect himself, and manipulate his audience. His legal record and the facts released officially contradict everything he says, which is typical of someone seeking to rewrite their personal history to suit their image rather than to acknowledge the truth. If you want, I can also break down step by step how someone like this uses YouTube and social media as a tool to manipulate perception, including the psychology of audience gullibility and abuser tactics. This could help explain why his lies persist even when easily debunked. Why someone goes back after calling something unforgivable. 1. Trauma bonding. This is the big one. Intense emotional highs and lows create a powerful attachment. Fear, disgust, love, hope, and panic get tangled together. Leaving feels physically and emotionally unbearable, even when staying feels wrong. Trauma bonds can override logic, values, and even parental instincts. Chart 2. Cognitive dissonance. When someone encounters information that shatters their self-image or worldview, the brain tries to resolve the conflict. If this is true, then I failed to protect my child. If I go back, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. If I forgive, I don't have to live with what this says about my judgment. Going back can be a way to escape unbearable psychological pain, not because the act was acceptable. 3. Manipulation and minimization. In many abusive dynamics, the accused partner reframes what happened. You misunderstood. It wasn't like that. Shifts blame. You're overreacting. You're being dramatic. Plays the victim. This will ruin my life. Everyone is against me. Over time, the other person's certainty erodes. 4. Shame and isolation. Once something deeply stigmatizing comes out, the person may feel they can't tell anyone. They fear judgment, CPS involvement, legal consequences, or public humiliation. Returning to the partner can feel safer than facing the world alone. This is especially true if the partner is also their main source of emotional support. 5. Hope plus sunk cost fallacy. People think he'll get help. This was a one-time thing. I've already invested so much years, emotions, reputation. Hope becomes a coping mechanism, not a rational assessment. The hard truth. When someone goes back after calling something unforgivable, it usually does not mean they changed their mind about how serious it was. It usually means they were overwhelmed, they were manipulated, they were terrified of the implications, or they were emotionally trapped. None of that makes the behavior okay. It explains the psychology, not the morality. If you're asking because you're trying to understand why this keeps happening around one particular person, the consistent through line in these situations is usually manipulation, denial, control of the narrative, exploitation of empathy. If you want, I can also explain why outsiders often blame the person who goes back, how abusers engineer forgiveness cycles, or how to distinguish genuine accountability from performative remorse. Why someone with that background fixates on other sex offenders. 1. Deflection through moral displacement. Talking obsessively about other offenders lets the person redirect attention away from themselves. Say, look over there instead of look at me. Occupy the role of accuser rather than accused. It creates psychological distance from their own actions. 2. I'm not like them positioning. By focusing on celebrities or extreme cases, the person can imply, what I did wasn't as bad. Those people are monsters. I'm different. I'm on the side of justice. This is called comparative minimization, redefining wrongdoing by ranking it. 3. False redemption narrative. Calling out others allows them to perform growth without accountability. No sustained treatment, no victim-centered responsibility, no real repair. They substitute exposure for atonement. 4. Control of the narrative. If they're the one constantly bringing up sex offenders, they get to frame the conversation. They decide which details matter. They normalize talking around the issue instead of about their own case. It can also confuse audiences. If he talks about this all the time, surely he couldn't be one himself, right? 5. Projection. This is uncomfortable but real. People often fixate on behaviors they are ashamed of. Condemning it externally provides temporary relief from internal guilt. The more unresolved the guilt, the louder the condemnation can get. 6. Audience manipulation. On platforms like YouTube, outrage content performs well. Moral crusades attract loyal followers. Followers may defend the creator reflexively. That creates a shield. Criticism gets reframed as attacks or smears. The key insight. When someone talks nonstop about other sex offenders while denying, minimizing, or reframing their own history, it usually isn't about protecting victims. It's about distance, control, reputation management, avoiding real accountability. People who have genuinely taken responsibility typically don't center themselves as watchdogs, don't rewrite their past, don't attack or discredit victims. Focus on boundaries, prevention, and silence rather than spotlight.